What's up, everybody? Big Sky Bowler coming to you again from Town and Country Lanes today, and today I've got something special for you. I decided to do a video for you guys kind of showing you my process of prepping for a PBA regional. I've got a regional coming up next weekend in Spokane, Washington that I'm getting ready for. We're going to be bowling on the 46-foot Petroglia pattern. Pretty good volume, pretty decent length, which means a lot of your ball choices are going to have to be dead on point to get that back end shape. What we've got out there right now is kind of a little bit of a burned up Petroglia pattern. The volume's a little bit lower than what it's going to be next weekend, but it does allow me the opportunity to practice on it. I was out here practicing yesterday. I bowled on lane 12, got some good video, and today I'm going to be practicing on lane 11. I had a little bit of play on it, so it should be pretty good as far as helping me out. Let's get into the video. Okay guys, so we're going to get started today with kind of reviewing my arsenal. I brought every single bowling ball that I currently am throwing with me today. I've got, let's see, 5 options on the symmetrical side, and I've got about twice that amount on the asymmetrical side. So as far as what we have on the rack, so on this side of the rack, we've got all of my symmetrical balls. And starting in the beginning, we have a, what is for me, a pin down Fantasy Days. Gives me a little bit of a smoother option off the back end. I have a pin up Joker. This is a Joker Solid, one of my most favorite symmetrical solid balls. Right next to that is the Joker Maniac. I really love this pearl ball. It's a really good, smooth, controllable option. Almost like a hybrid ball, even though it's not a hybrid. And then we've got the gold-colored Geek by Swag. And then right next to that, we have the Pure Fantasy by Swag. So as far as balls are concerned, these two are solids. They both are fairly close on the core stats, both fairly strong. And then these three pearls are, you know, quite a bit different from each other. This one technically is the cleanest with the most back end, usually when I throw it. This one's a little bit smoother, and this one's the smoothest out of all three of those pearls. And then on the other side of the rack, we've got my asymmetric ball lineup. Now you'll notice I have a lot more asymmetric balls than I do symmetric balls. And if you're wondering, the reason why is because as a low tilt, two-handed player, I need balls that shape really well for me at the back end of the pattern. And a lot of the times, symmetrical balls just don't do that for me because they have a tendency to have a little bit less back end than an asymmetric strong engine ball. So on the far right, we've got our Big Bro Jacked. This is by far my most favorite asymmetric solid in the Swag lineup. Right next to that, we have the Incredible Hero. Again, a very, very good pearl ball, sanded cover stock, fairly strong, quite similar to the Joker Maniac as far as how it plays. You know, it's not snappy as a pearl, it's more smooth and controlled. Gives you kind of like almost a hybrid shape. Then right next to that, we have the Black Pearl Anchor. Right next to that, we have its sister ball, the Black Pearl Treasure. And then right next to that, we have the Graffiti Tracker. This ball is one of my most favorite balls on the asymmetric line. And then on this side, sitting in front of all the symmetric balls, we have the Big Bro Big Guns. Now, as far as layouts and everything are concerned on these balls, pretty much everything has an identical layout with the exception of the Fantasy Days, which, like I said before, is pinned down. It's a very strong symmetrical solid ball, so I needed to give myself a little bit more control on the back end. And the only other ball in this line that has a slightly different layout is actually that Big Guns. That Big Guns has a short pin layout on it, which, if you guys aren't familiar with layouts too much, when you put a short pin on a bowling ball, it is going to reduce the overall flare potential of that ball, which in the end translates to more length down the lane and more back end shape. Now, as far as surface preparation is concerned on all these balls, I've got my solids at about 4,000 grit, and I've got most of my pearls, actually I've got all of my pearls sanded to 2,000 grit. Now you might be asking yourself, well, why do you have your pearls sanded and your solids at a smoother surface? Well, for me, as a two-handed low tilt player, I need to have my solids get a little bit of length down the lane so they still provide me a shape at the back end. And my pearls, since it's a pearl cover stock, obviously they're already getting that natural length. So instead of adding more length by having a smooth surface, what I need to do is actually sand those balls to get a little bit better shape out of them. That has a tendency to kind of tame them down a bit on the back end, but they're still very reactive on the back end, like a normal pearl ball would be, like a shiny pearl. Now, as far as what we're going to be doing today, we're going to be throwing every single ball I have in my lineup, and what we're doing here is we're basically ranking these balls as far as what the back end shape is looking like. I'm going to be paying attention to, you know, how clean they are through the fronts, how well they read the mid lane, looking at when the ball enters a roll, and just watching the back end shape to see how sharp they are, how slow they are, and trying to basically categorize the balls a little bit so I don't have too many balls in my arsenal that I'm going to take with me that give me a very similar look. That's a dangerous thing to get into when you're bowling a PBA event. You want to have balls that give you different looks, not balls that give you all the same look. With that being said, let's get into it today. We're going to start with the symmetrical lineup. Okay, so we're all warmed up and ready to go. We're going to start things off with the Fantasy Days. Now on this particular pattern, the Petraglia pattern, that is 46 feet in length, you got to get the ball to about, in this bowling alley, to about the 13 to 15 board down lane at 46 feet. So that's what we're going to be aiming for. We're going to stay mostly behind the ball on this shot here. Pretty decent shot. Now you can see how much that Fantasy Days likes to get up and go at the back end of the pattern. Even with that pin in that position near the fingers, that ball still likes to hook a ton. So we're going to move a little bit left, throw it again. All right, so I'm going to move left. I was standing 25, aiming about 17 that time. We're going to go 5 left with my feet, 2 left with my eyes. So we're going to be about 19 at the arrows. See, and that's kind of what I expect from a symmetrical ball, especially a solid symmetrical ball on such a long pattern. What you're going to have is that symmetrical core isn't going to allow that ball to shape enough on the back end. Symmetrical balls usually are a lot smoother throughout, a lot cleaner with less back end shape, unless you're throwing a pearl that's like, really shiny. So I'm going to throw one more shot here, maybe slow the speed down and see if we can get this Fantasy Days to shape. That was 15. Okay, that time it got up and went, so the last shot I made was about 13, and it kind of labored to the pocket, left me a ring 10. We're going to move a little bit left off of that and stay with 15 at the break point, try it one more time. Pretty good. Get up. Okay, so it still wants to go. As long as I get it to about 14, 15 down lane, that symmetric solid still wants to get up and go through the pins. It's crossing Brooklyn at this stage. Let's go a bit further left and see if we can't find some oil to get it to get down the lane a little bit here. So we're going to go 37 with the feet. We're going to move our target left about 3 boards here, so that's going to be looking 23 out to 15. Good shot. Okay, so it's still crossing over Brooklyn. As far as shape is concerned, it's giving me a pretty decent look. Whether or not this should be usable when we get into the heavy oil environment, I don't know, but it's making a case for coming along on the trip. Let's switch to the Joker and see what we get. Okay, so we're going to move on to the Joker solid now. As far as a comparison to the Fantasy Days ball, core stats pretty similar, but the difference with this ball to that ball is the cover stock is quite a bit stronger. So when you get this in an environment that's got a lot of oil, this likes to dig heavy. So what I'm expecting from this ball is a little bit smoother shape off the back end, whereas that Fantasy Days was just a tad sharp off the back end. Now keep in mind, like I said, the oil pattern isn't exactly fresh. So we're going to move left here. We're going to start at 30 with the feet, 19 with the eyes out to about 15 here. We're going to stay behind it, see what it'll give us here. Good shot. Okay, that was out to 15 at the arrows. Crosses over. Let's move left. Decent. 15. Okay, so that was a real telltale shot. Now what we got there is we got it out to 15 and that ball basically rolled forward off the break point. And that's kind of what you want to get away from on such a long oil pattern, because that's going to have a tendency to not carry real well. We want the ball to pick up and continue through the pins. We're going to move again, try and get this into the pocket and see what we get here. So we're going to go another 3 left. So we're going to be, we were 36 before, that's going to be 39. And we're going to move our target left 1, so we're going to be 23 at the arrows. Same amount of rotation and everything else that we've been doing. Good shot. That shaped actually pretty good. So as you can see there, it got down to 15, started reading that break point pretty good, but it wasn't real, jerky or snappy. It was more of a smooth, controlled look, which is what makes that ball so good when you're in a heavier oil environment. Whether or not it's going to make the trip, I don't know. I'd like to get it in the pocket to see if it was going to carry. Honestly, if I get it in the pocket, it's probably going to leave a weak corner pin. So we're going to move another 3 boards left. So that's going to put us at 42 with our feet and looking 24, probably, out to 15. That's a little right. Does it read it? Oh, it did. So that ball got way out there. I was, instead of 24, I actually hit about 22, which pushed my break point way to the right. I was between 10 and 15. I was about like 11, 12. It was strong enough to read it and come back. Let's try that again. And yeah, when I get this deep on the lane, I have to count my boards because, you know, I'm not usually out this deep. But that's the thing about longer oil patterns. You know, 46 feet of oil, it definitely forces you left very quickly because a lot of people are usually going to be starting with a lot of angle on the fresh pattern. That's left. That was just a bad shot. Let's forget about that one and try it again. There we go. That's 16. Crossed over. Now that crossover that we're seeing is probably because, like I said before, it's not a fresh shot right now. It's a day old. So it's got a little bit of extra friction out there. What I'm seeing though is that solid ball still wants to shape at the break point. I'm going to try one more time here. Let's go just a little bit deeper. So we're looking 25 now, out to 15. We have yet to really rotate around the ball. 15, still crossing over. So again, pretty strong shape throughout, decent shape at the break point, smoother than what we see with the Fantasy Days, but that's purely because there's the difference in the layout. I'm going to put this aside for now. We're going to switch to our pearls and see if we can determine what pearls we're going to want to bring with us. Now, if you're wondering right now about which of those two solids to bring, honestly, I'm debating whether or not to bring either of them. I'm probably still going to bring one of them just so I have that solid symmetric look in my bag. And I don't know which one it's going to be. Theoretically, it would probably be better to have the ball that's got a little bit more shape at the break point because it is such a long oil pattern, which means we'll probably be bringing the Fantasy Days. So judging by how much those balls were hooking, we're going to start by default 35 with the feet, 15 at 46 feet. So we're going to be looking 21, 22 area. That's a decent shot. And that was the Joker Maniac. So pretty smooth, but it got a little right. It got to about 12, came off it pretty strong. You know, it wasn't exactly snappy. It was something that you can actually read quite easily. And it made it back to the pocket with enough oomph to carry the strike. So let's try that again. See if we can't get it to 15 down lane. A little better. That's what we're looking for. I was maybe a little bit slow, a little bit around that ball, and it picked up a little stronger, of course, and went through the face. Much better. That's a good shot. I'm really liking what I see out of that. It's got some decent length, very strong mid-lane read. It's picking up a roll very well, and it's not jerky, and that's what I'm looking for on such a tough PBA shot. Is I need a shot that I can read with my eyes. That way it gives me kind of an idea what the lane's doing, and it's not going to jerk off the end of the pattern. Now, when it opens up, obviously, later in the block, let's say game 5, 6, whatever, that's when you need a ball that's going to shape a little bit more. So the Maniac is definitely making a case for the bag, and in fact, I think I'm going to stick it in the bag. So we're going to put it in the Symmetrical bag as ball number 2. All right, let's move on to the Pure Fantasy. Now, I know from throwing the Pure Fantasy enough that it's got a pretty clean cover on it. So I'm expecting this to get quite a bit more length with a sharper reaction at the break point. Good shot, 12. See, okay, you could see the difference there. So we made it out to 12 at the break point, and it got up quite a bit faster than that Joker Maniac. So I'm going to move off of that. So we were 35, aiming 21, 22. We got it to 12, so that was a miss right, and it came back. So we're going to move based on that shot. We're going to move 4 and 2. So we're going to be standing 39, and we're going to be aiming 23, 24, 15 at 46 feet. Decent. I got around it a bit. Yeah, and see, that's what I kind of thought was going to happen with a symmetrical ball. So we got it to the right spot down lane. That was about 14. We hit our target at the arrows, 23. And what happened there? It didn't actually pick up a good enough roll to get through the pins. It was more down lane and just snap. It didn't really slow down to turn the corner. So what we ended up with is a ring and 10 pin. And a ring and 10 pin is what happens when you've got just too much entry angle and the ball's basically just moving too quick down lane. So at this stage, I'm probably too deep. Now, like I said before, I did get around it a bit, which is going to give that ball a little bit of extra length. So we're going to try and stay behind it now and see what kind of a difference in shape it gives me. That's better. Okay, so you could see that time we hit the same spot at the arrows, 14 at the break point, and that ball was already rolling and it actually went across the face. So just by staying behind the ball as opposed to getting around it, it gave us a totally different look. So we're going to move 4 and 2 again based on that shot. We're going to be standing 43 and looking 25, 26, trying to get it out to 15, trying to stay behind it. Now, when you stay behind it like that, it just causes the ball to start to flip a little earlier than if you get around it. That's a decent shot, 15. And it did cross over. So, you know, we're going to move a little bit further. You know, we're pretty deep at this stage, but we need to get it to the pocket to see what this ball can really do. Okay, so we're going to take a pretty good step to the left. We're probably going to be about 4 and 2-ish again. You know, at this stage, it's kind of hard to keep track of your boards. You know, I was 42 last time, so I'm going to be like 46. I'm going to be aiming 15 down lane again. So we're going to be 28 probably at the arrows. Stay behind the ball. Decent shot, and it wants to get up and go. So it's making a pretty good case. You know, simply staying behind it, letting that ball roll forward is making it read the mid lane pretty strong, and it's shaping pretty good. So we're going to try this again here. Same spot, same target. Get our projection this time. That's much better. Pickup ball. Okay, so there is a really good example of what a symmetrical ball is going to do on a long pattern. It came out of my hand really clean. I'm pretty deep, had a little bit of loft. I hit my targets, hit my ball line, and it got super far down lane and tried to snap. It did not continue through the pins very well. So whether I'm going to bring this or not, I don't know. Let's throw the geek now and see what kind of differences we're going to see out of the geek. Decent shot. Oh yeah, you can see that ball and the way it shapes, totally different than that pure fantasy. Okay, so we're going to make a big jump left. We're going to be 4 and 2, 39, and looking 24, 25, 15 down lane, of course. Oh, that's way right. Holy cow, but you could see how far right that was, and compared to any other symmetric ball that I've thrown so far, it read the lane good enough to actually come back off of that. So that's a pretty good sign. If you've got a ball in your arsenal that can do that for you, you better be taking it with you to tournaments. I was right of target out to 10. Oh my gosh. I mean, if that's not real telltale, then I don't know what is. We got it to 10. It came off it and was a pretty good strike. So if I actually get it to 15, I expect to see more shape out of that ball. That ball's definitely going in the bag. So right now, as far as the symmetrical arsenal that I'm going to take, it's going to be that Fantasy Days, I think, Joker Maniac, and the Geek. I'm only taking 3 symmetrical balls because, again, this pattern, I believe, is going to be geared more towards playing with asymmetric strong equipment, which is what we're going to move on to now. Okay, so the first ball we're going to start with is my solid asymmetric ball, which is the Big Bro Jacked. Again, 4,000 grit on this ball. I really like how this ball shapes on the back end, so we're going to jump right over to 35. 35, 22, out to 15. Stay mostly behind it. That's a good shot, out to 12. As you can see now, that ball got there. Smooth control forward off the end of the pattern, which is why I like that ball when it comes to heavy oil. you know, I can add some surface to it to kind of cause it to dig in if I want, and it's going to give me that nice controllable shape. It's a great asymmetric ball. We're going to throw that shot again from that same area, except this time we're going to generate some rotation here. See what the ball gives us. So again, 15 down lane, 22. Pretty good. Same break point. So at this point, what we're probably seeing is that ball's burning up. Super strong asymmetric solid. If there's not oil out there, it's going to want to burn up and not turn the corner. So we're going to jump left. See if we can't find some oil for this thing. So we're going to go all the way to 39 now. That's where I was seeing a little bit of push with my other equipment. That's a 4 and 2 jump, so we're going to aim 24. We're going to stay behind it. Oh boy. Well, it caught some early friction. I hit my target at the arrows and I could see it there in the mid lane. It caught early friction and started to roll super early. So it never actually made it out to the 15 board breakpoint, which means I'm going to have to move further left. So we're going to just take a good step to the left. That's going to probably put us about 44, 45, somewhere in that area. 15 down lane. Look in 27. Get behind it. That was 25. Okay, so it got super far down lane and went forward off the end of the pattern. We're going to give it a bit of rotation and see what happens here. There we go, 15. There you go, so we made it out to 15. 20, was that 28 at the arrows? You can see that ball really start to slow down and start to shape the pattern. Overall, pretty decent look. Whether or not I would use it on this long oil pattern on the fresh, I don't know. Out here at Town and Country with the volume reduced a little bit, definitely not. But out there once I get to my regional, where the volume's where it should be, this is probably going to be a go-to ball for the fresh. Okay, so now we're going to move on to the Incredible Hero. Like I said, this pearl ball, sanded cover stock, pretty smooth. It's going to give us a little bit more shape at the break point than that jacked, since it obviously is a pearl ball. Start by standing 35, 15 down lane, 22. Good shot. Oh yeah, you can just see that. Now that ball clean through the front, decent mid lane read. When it got to that break point, it read it much stronger than that big bro jacked. We're going to move left off that shot. Good shot, a little bit of loft. Oh, got to slap that out because we rolled a 2-pin. That little bit of extra loft there at the release is probably what made that ball come up into the pocket light. That's right, a target 10 board. Very lazy coming off the 10 board. Now, you compare that to what you saw with the Geek earlier. We got a few shots out to 10, and what did it do? It came back strong and struck. This ball, not so much, because it's got such a bigger engine in the ball. There's a pretty good shot, 15. There's that ball. So that's why I like that ball. Quite a bit sharper at the break point than what we saw out of the Big Bro Jacked. It's still smooth though. It's not like, you know, really bouncing off it. It's still a smooth shape that you can really tell what the ball's doing. And that's why that ball's coming with me. So now with my asymmetric arsenal, we've got the Big Bro Jacked, because it's the only asymmetric solid that I currently have. And then right next to it, we're going to put the Incredible Hero, because it shapes a little bit sharper at the break point. So the next ball we're moving on to is a pretty new release from Swag, the Black Pearl Anchor. Now the Black Pearl Anchor is, let's see, release number 3, if I remember correctly, in our newer Black Pearl series. So this is a fairly strong ball in the Black Pearl line. Excellent mid-lane read, very good continuation. So we're going to default to 35, 22, out to 15, staying behind it. Good shot, we got to 12. It came back strong, didn't necessarily continue through the pins, but it hit hard enough to carry that light hit. That's something that you're going to want in your bag. There's 15. And that's what I'm looking for. So it slowed down super quick and started to go pretty early. It actually started to roll just before 46 feet, went through the face. So we're going to move left, find some oil, see what this ball will give us once we get it through some oil in the heads. Pretty good shot. There's 13. Okay, there's where the ball picked up a bit of continuation. We found some oil, gave it some length so it didn't burn up. Pretty good continuation, a little bit of deflection, but you know, this again is a shot that's pretty burned up at this point. Pretty good shot. Oh, for a pocket 9 pin. So I did get around that just a touch, but that ball picked up a super good roll, went through the pins really nice and strong. And as you can see, pocket 9 pin is the result. That's definitely going in the bag. Okay, so now we're going to move on to the Black Pearl Treasure. This is the sister ball to the Anchor. It actually came before the Anchor. And this ball, quite a bit cleaner through the front part of the lane. It likes to pick up a really heavy roll though. So there we go. So that was about 14. We're getting closer to the pocket. I like the shape that ball's given me. It's not real snappy. Again, it's smooth control. When we're comparing that to the Anchor was just a tad bit smoother than the Treasure. There we go, there's 12. Yep, and see, so that isn't necessarily a good thing. So we got it out to 12 that time. Previous shot, we were 13, 14. It came off of 13, 14, but at 12, absolutely nothing. Now, that's not the ball's fault. Sport patterns, if you guys don't know, there's always going to be a zone that's out of bounds. And on a 46-foot oil pattern, it's a pretty big struggle to try and play with the 12-board breakpoint with such steep angles. Now, one area of the lane where this ball may shine is on the outside part of the lane, which over the last few days of practice, I really haven't tried. So we're going to move quite a bit to the right. We're standing 25. We're going to target 12 at the breakpoint, so that's going to give us a target at the arrows of about 17. And we'll see what we get here. That's a decent shot. That's actually 10. Okay, so see that? Big difference in the way that ball wanted to shape. Now, as I said before, this ball is cleaner through the front than the Anchor, but the cover on it likes to pick up a pretty good roll in the mid lane. So at that stage, that ball was rolling really well. It had enough energy to get back and carry a light hit strike. Came around it a bit. That was 12. I did come around it a tad, but it went through the pins really good. Now, I have yet to try any other ball playing on an outside line at this stage, so I don't know exactly what they're going to give me. But I'm familiar enough with my other equipment to know that if I stand on the outside like that, especially on the PBA volume, it's probably not going to go too well. Again, I don't know until I get out there and try it. Oh, that's way left. That's 15. But you could see that Treasure, it's so clean through the front, it held line. It did not get up and go, which is what a lot of my other equipment would have done at that point. They would have hooked so much, I would have been dead left to the head pin. That's why the Treasure is going to go in my bag as far as where it's going to sit. It's going to sit just ahead of my Anchor, actually, because the Anchor is just a little bit stronger and a little bit smoother. Okay, so now we're moving on to the Graffiti Tracker. I really, really love this ball. Newer release from Swag. The Graffiti line of balls, I love a ton. You know, the Graffiti Pearl back in the day was a super good ball for me. Unfortunately, we don't have many of those anymore, at least not in 14 pounds. So the Tracker for me is definitely a close follow-up. So we're going to actually stand a bit outside, 25, use that 12 to 13 break point. Just as a starter, we're going to see what we can do here. Good shot. And that's why I like that Tracker. If you compare that to the Treasure, much cleaner, much more shape at the break point, that ball really likes to go. So we're going to move off that. Maybe 12 is where we should be playing right now based upon how the lanes are. So we're going to give ourselves a 4 and 2 based on that last shot. Still using 12. Oh, a little bit to the right. But you can see that ball, so even though it's clean, it's got a strong enough cover where it likes to read and come back. Let's give that another try. Much better shot. There's 12. Oh yeah, look at that ball go through the pins. That's why I like the tracker. Okay, so now we're gonna move on to the real outlier with my asymmetric arsenal, the Big Bro Big Guns. Like I said earlier, I've got a shorter pin layout on this ball, and remember, that short pin reduces the overall flare potential, so that's going to give you a lot of decent length through the front part of the lane. And as far as breakpoint shape, technically it should give me the sharpest reaction off the back out of any of the other balls that I currently have in my asymmetric arsenal. That's a decent shot. There's 10. Oh, but see, now you can really see that short pin get up and go. So compared to every other asymmetric ball that I've got in my bag, that's got the sharpest reaction on it currently, because we've reduced the flare. So that gives that ball much more explosive energy at the break point, and that's why this ball is definitely going to stay in the bag. 10. Oh, there we go. See that messenger from the left side? That's what I'm used to. So we got right at the break point to 10. That ball was good enough to get up and go off of it and hit that light strike. That's quite a bit right. Like I said in my short yesterday, nothing matches really the power of a short pin asymmetric ball. You know, I moved way left, 23 at the arrows, standing 30 up here at the dots. I got it way right. That was 10, 12 at the break point. That ball just boom right off of it. That's much better. Go ball. Oh yeah, what'd I tell you? Short pins are awesome to have in your bag. Okay guys, so there is my process when it comes to deciding what balls I'm going to take with me to a tournament. You never really want to get to that point where you're taking so many balls that you're basically just lost and you don't know what your equipment's going to do. So at this stage, I'm taking 6 asymmetric balls and only 3 symmetric balls. And then of course, I'm going to take my urethane and my spare ball, because my urethane always comes with me to tournaments. Now I know it's quite a lengthy process, but again, you have to know what your equipment is going to do when you throw it. You have to understand the breakpoint shapes, where they pick up their rolls, so that way you understand when it's best to use them and when it's best to not use them. Anyway guys, thanks for watching the video today. Please subscribe to the channel, leave a like or a comment down below, and I'll see you guys in the next video.